Outrage on both sides of the aisle over a botched report on Justice Brett Kavanaugh that suggested a new allegation of sexual assault. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham now reacting as some Democrats are calling for Kavanaugh's impeachment.
The accusation is ridiculous. The New York Times writes and verifies later, and Democratic candidates for president are trying to take, I guess, political advantage somehow. It must be an advantage in their world to call for impeachment based on an article that's false. So I think it's just reinforces the low points we've gotten. It's going to backfire. It's going to blow up in their face, I hope.
Quoting. All right, let's bring in North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis, member of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, good morning to you. If I could just get where you stand on everything that has happened since Sunday, when that piece was published in the opinion section of the Times, then obviously errors were identified, corrections were made. Where do things stand this morning?
Well, I agree with Lindsey Graham. It's just another liberal media mob hit. There's no basis for the allegations. I think that this is a continuation of what we saw in the Judiciary Committee. You had presidential candidates, now presidential candidates, attacking him with false allegations. And, frankly, at some point, there's got to be a legal responsibility to the parties that are doing these sorts of things. And then the calls for impeachment are going to go nowhere. Even House Democrats have said that they're not going to. They're using this for their own political gain. People in North Carolina are sick of it.
When you say there should be a legal responsibility to the parties involved, as a member of the Judiciary Committee, Senator, what do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is that Justice Kavanaugh, his reputation is being attacked. I think that there's probably a legal basis for a libel suit with the New York Times. Doubt seriously that Justice Kavanaugh will pursue it. And I actually think that's a calculation of some of these liberal media outlets, that they know that they can get away with false allegations with no repercussions. And that's wrong.
Obviously, that would be highly unusual for a Supreme Court justice to
right.
Sue the New York Times. Are you suggesting that he should consider that?
I actually think if it wasn't a justice of the Supreme Court, I firmly believe that they would have a case and that they would pursue it. I think that some of these liberal media outlets know that. It's a calculation. It was interesting, Sandra. This morning I was reading news clips. Another cable station reported the original New York Times article, and then they footnoted it by saying, but we haven't independently confirmed these facts. They're laundering lies and they're destroying the reputation of a great Supreme Court justice.
Take on some of your colleagues in Congress, some Democrats who still in the wake of the correction by the Times and the note from the editor, the statement from the editor, are still calling for Kavanaugh's impeachment.
Well, that's right. They've called for the president's impeachment. They know that's going nowhere. They're just using this to spin up a cycle, using false allegations against a good man. And they're going to keep the story alive as long as one of the other news outlets will continue to give some credibility to an allegation we know is not corroborated. Like so many others the Democrats have put forth against the president, against Brett Kavanaugh. I went through pages and pages of background investigation on Justice Kavanaugh. There's just nothing there, which is why he got confirmed, and it's why he's on the Supreme Court bench today.
That's not stopping some, as I mentioned, like Ayanna Pressley, from saying this: sexual predators do not deserve a seat on the nation's highest court. And Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation process set a dangerous precedent. We must demand justice for survivors and hold Kavanaugh accountable for his actions. To that you say what, Senator?
I would say go through the testimony of our Judiciary Committee, go through the investigation that the FBI did, and you will draw the same conclusion if you're fair-minded. Now, if you're a political hack trying to make points and drive a false narrative, you're not going to be bothered by the facts. But the facts are there is no substantiating or corroborating evidence to any of this. And this hit piece by the New York Times is just another attempt to distract people away from the president's great track record on the economy, the things he's doing for this country. And North Carolina's not going to stand for it.
Why do you think they stay on this message? And why has Mitch McConnell's made the case, is the left wing obsessed, I think was his word, about over Brett Kavanaugh? Why do they continue with this strategy?
I think the Democrats are staying on this message because they've got products the American people and people in North Carolina are not buying. They're not buying the Green New Deal. They're not buying Medicare for all. They're not buying what they're trying to do to get elected based on policy. So since their policy proposals are failing, they're going to try and distract people through false allegations and false narratives about a good man in Brett Kavanaugh.
Senator Thom Tillis, really appreciate you coming on this morning. Glad
Thank
to
you,
have you back.
Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.